Hey guys, Pastor Tim here. Hope you're ready for another video from our youth group at Lighthouse Baptist Church. If this is your first time watching a video or you're trying to catch up on a missed lesson, we hope that this video is a blessing to you and helps you grow in your relationship with Jesus Christ.
1 Samuel chapter 4. Alright, so today is going to be more of a, notice I don't have note takers and stuff. If you want to take notes, obviously, I always do that. But this is going to be kind of a one-off lesson, if you want to think of it like that, just with, preparing for my ordination and so forth. Instead of delving into a whole new series, we're going to have like one, maybe this week and maybe next week as well, just separate lessons, just stuff that I'm going through in the Bible personally, and stuff that I think is really cool. And I hope you guys have that experience too when you're doing your devotions and stuff like that. You're writing things down, and I know if you guys are in the Bible study group, that's why we set up the notebooks like that this year, to help you be active or proactive in your devotions. I know some of you guys have already been doing that, but writing stuff down, not simply just reading, closing, done for today, but write things down, whether it be in that journal or your own fancy journal, ladies, you know, stickers and all that stuff, whatever it may be. And I hope you have those moments, because you will have it. If you're seeking to learn of God, you're being faithful in your devotions, you're going to have moments where you're like, man, that's pretty cool. If you're going along with a devotional guide or a commentary, and it helps you notice something you didn't think about before, or understand something that you didn't understand before, I hope you guys have those moments, and I hope you enjoy those moments as well. Like, wow, that's really neat, or that's how great my God is. So this lesson today is going to be something like that, something I've had the thought of before for a lesson, and then recently going through the book of Jeremiah, actually, and you're like, well, Pastor Tim, we're in 1 Samuel. We'll get there. That's really neat to see as well. But our next series we're going to start, if not next week, the week after, is going to, today's lesson kind of goes into that, or helps prepare you for that idea. I don't know what I'm going to entitle the series yet, but it's about being amazed with God, or in awe of God. And talking about how when God doesn't have His rightful place in your heart, how it affects all these different aspects of your life. We all know the verse when it talks about that, well, not just the verse, but several passages that say, in essence, you know, to love the Lord thy God with all your what?
Heart, soul, and mind.
Soul and mind. All right, when God has His correct place in your heart, in your life, all right, things go as they should, in essence. But when things of the world, or things that we put in place of God, have a hold of our heart, or have our awe, or that we stand in amazement of instead, how it can lead our life off track, so to speak. Alright, so that's the series we're going to get into. But we're going to start here today. If I had a title for this, it would be called Something Godly But Not God. Okay? And 1 Samuel chapter 4. Now I'm going to ask you guys some rhetorical questions here. Alright, now if you know what a rhetorical question is, don't blurt out anything back to me. Alright, but just think about these things. Okay? I know for some of you I have to explain that, so. Alright, why do we go to church? Okay? Just think about that. Why do we go to church? Or think, why do some people go to church? Okay? You may know why you do, but why do some other people go to church? Or why do your parents send you to a Christian school? Or for most of you guys, why do your parents have you homeschooled? Okay? Now to take it from there, why do you follow certain people, whether that be on social media, as friends, as entertainment, whatever it may be? Why do you follow the people you follow? Alright? And why do we allow sports, friends, relationships, and money to consume so much of our time and energy? Okay, so just think on those things. Why do we allow that to happen? Now, those might not all seem connected, like why do I go to church and why do I allow all this to take my time and energy? But what I want to talk about today is the fact that, and we covered this already in our Done series on Sunday school, alright, but everyone worships something, right? Even someone that claims they don't believe in God, everyone worships something, whether that be God or something they treat as God. Alright, so hopefully you guys are following when I'm asking those questions earlier. You either worship God or something you treat as God, whether that be an idol or something that you perceive to be godly anyway. That's why I asked, why do you go to church? Why do your parents homeschool you or send you to a Christian school? However, what we'll discover today is that putting your faith simply in religious things is futile. All right, it doesn't amount to anything. All right, putting your faith simply in religious things is futile. It's godly, but it's not God. And putting your faith in created things instead of the Creator, and we talked about that in the Done series as well, well, that leads to failure. All right, you may treat it like God, think it's godly, but it's still not God. We all worship something, but are you worshiping the right thing? And we're going to go through this. We're going to go over 2 separate chapters, but it's kind of covering the same. It's one story that's going off into the next chapter. But in 1 Samuel chapter 4, we're going to first talk about godly, but not God. Okay, and we're going to talk about, most of us, who do we think about when we think of the book of Samuel?
Samuel.
Sam? Really? Is that the most? I would think David. Alright, well that's good you think of Samuel, because I think most people think of David, which is funny because it's like, well, the book's named after Samuel, he's not even like the main guy. But yeah, so we usually think of David or Samuel, and we're not really going to talk about any of them today. Okay? Because obviously before that, we dealt with who's Samuel's mom? Just say it. Hannah. Alright, and the other people that were involved with that. Alright, so 1 Samuel chapter 4. It begins, we'll read the first 2 verses. And the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Now, Israel went out against the Philistines to battle and pitched beside Ebenezer, and the Philistines pitched in Ephah, I guess. And the Philistines put themselves in array against Israel, and when they joined battle, Israel was smitten before the Philistines, and they slew of the army in the field about 4,000 men. So Israel, like many times as we see throughout the Old Testament, especially in the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel, is once again in a battle with the Philistines. Okay, one of their enemies they face all the time. If you were to ask what was on the nations that the Israelites dealt with the most, you would probably at the top of the list would be the Philistines. And things didn't start out well. All right, they lost how many people at the beginning of this battle? 4,000 men. Okay, so things are going bad. Well, let's look what they do in verse 3. And when the people were come into the camp, and the elders of Israel said, wherefore, so they just got this whooping. All right, and they say, wherefore hath the Lord smitten us today before the Philistines? So who are they blaming there?
God.
God, wow. Wherefore hath the Lord smitten us before the Philistines? Let us fetch the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of Shiloh unto us, that when it cometh, all right, when it cometh among us, it may save us out of the hand of our enemies. All right, emphasis is on purpose. So, things are going bad. So who do they turn to?
God.
Alright, thank you. So things are going bad. Who do they turn to? They blame God, but they turn to the Ark of the Covenant. And the reason I kept emphasizing it, alright, is because I can understand, Gage, why you would say they turn to God, because you associate the Ark of the Covenant with who? God. But they say when it comes in the midst of us, when it comes with us into battle. Okay, and here's what I'm getting to. Alright, the whole thing about simply putting your faith in religious things is not putting your faith in God. Alright, they blame God. Look how God has smitten us. Well, let's get us the Ark of the Covenant and it will give us the victory. Alright, now, they turn to the Ark of the Covenant. If you guys don't know, the Ark of the Covenant is a sign of God's covenant with Israel. Now, this covenant has some conditions where if you are faithful and you serve me, I will bless you in the land, bring you in the land, bless you in the land, be fruitful in the land. And it was housed in the inner parts of the tabernacle and eventually the temple. And the inner part we would call, does anybody know? The Holy of Holies, that is correct. Now, the most significant part of the Ark of the Covenant, okay, is what they would refer to as the mercy seat, which was the lid pretty much of the Ark of the Covenant. Alright? They put the tablets with the Ten Commandments inside it. Aaron's budded rod is inside it as well, a pot of manna. But one of the most significant things that they dealt with a lot was the mercy seat, the lid of the Ark of the Covenant, which in the midst of the tabernacle or the temple, the Holy of Holies, once a year, the high priest would go in on the Day of Atonement to sprinkle blood thereon on the mercy seat, alright, to atone for the sins of himself and for Israel as a whole. What do you think that is a picture of in the Old Testament? That's something that's going to happen. Locke?
Christ's crucifixion.
What?
I'm sorry, Jesus' crucifixion.
Yeah, it's a symbol of Christ's ultimate sacrifice and how he is the great and final atonement for man's sin. All right. How many times did the high priest have to go in and do this? Once a year. So that means every year, multiple times. Christ's sacrifice, that was just a foreshadow of what Christ would do ultimately once for all. So this was a very important thing for the Israelites. All right, this was a very important thing unto them, especially when it comes to worshiping God. But let me ask you this, and you already answered it anyway, but was it God?
No.
No. Okay, it was not God. It was godly. It represents the presence of God, for in the Holy of Holies they said that God was sitting on the mercy seat. Alright, but it wasn't God. And the fashion they were using it and wanting to use it as, they were definitely not thinking of it as God. People tend to turn to what they trust most in times of crisis. Okay? Whether that be money, job security, or whatever it is, a best friend. Or when things are going bad, they'll turn to something or someone they trust most in their times of crisis. Alright, so once again, rhetorical question, who do you turn to when things go wrong? Alright, that's going to show what you value a lot in your life. Alright, whether it be your parents or someone else. Now, when it comes to this whole godly but not God, understand, people often use religion superstitiously. Okay? And count it as righteousness. Now, raise your hand. How do people use religion superstitiously? Alright, Grace.
They think just because going through a hard time that, oh, they must have done something wrong. Or because that person's going through
They think just what?
because something bad happened.
Okay.
The person it's happening to must have done something wrong.
Okay. Well, let's think about how they use religion superstitiously. Alright? Yes, Gabe.
Because I've been sworn into this religion, I must be saved.
Alright, you guys are kind of missing my point here. I'm talking about acts here. How they use religious acts. Yes.
Like if they're doing everything correctly, then everything will go well for them.
Exactly. That's the main thing. Alright, so if I do these things, that means things are supposed to be good. Okay? So if things are going wrong in my life, alright, you may know someone like this. Oh, well then, you know what? I do need to get back in church. I need to start going to church more. Okay? Well, that's not the cure-all. Okay? That's not the real problem. It's like, and I see this a lot with young people because they very much see, maybe it's more because I obviously deal with young people the most, but they often see Christianity as do's and don'ts. And if life isn't going good for me, then I'm not doing the right do's and I should stop doing these don'ts. And so it's all just about what you do. What did I say this Sunday, alright? We don't have a doing problem, we have a what problem? A being problem. Alright? You're born a sinner. Alright? You can't correct that by just doing good things. Alright? Therefore, it doesn't make sense to think that, well, if I just keep doing these good things, then things will continue to be well for me. Okay? When you use church attendance as, alright, if I go to church all the time, that means God will bless me. Alright? That's using religion superstitiously. When you use Bible reading as, alright, if I read my Bible, then things will start going right, you're using religion superstitiously. Alright? If I ace a verse quiz, if I pray more often, if you're thinking of these as simply as a means to an end of making your life better, okay, are you relating to God or abusing your connection to God? Yeah. If I only want to hang out with Josiah because when I do, he buys me Whataburger, all right? Am I abusing my relationship with him?
Yes.
Do I really care about him?
Yes.
No. So hopefully that helps illustrate it. I know that's kind of funny, but like, do you guys see what I'm getting at? If you're using religious activity as a means to gain God's favor, you're abusing your relationship with God. And I use that very loosely because in essence, God doesn't take none of that. All right, you're not making a fool out of him. You're not stringing him along. He knows. Many times in the Bible, he says, "You guys worship me with your lip service, but your hearts are far from me." And that's what the Israelites are doing here. They're like, hey, let's bring the Ark of the Covenant. They're putting their faith in a religious activity, but their hearts are still far from God. Someone find me Matthew 7. Matthew 7, verse 21 to 23. Alright, Micah.
Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name hath cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity.
What verse was that? Matthew 7.
Matthew 7, verse 21 to 23. Matthew 7, 21 to 23. What he's pretty much saying there is, but God, I went to Lighthouse. But God, I filled a whole journal with devotional writings. Lord, I prayed every day. If we go to other religions, Lord, I prayed the prayer of Mary 50 times over, punctuated every 10th time by the Lord's Prayer. I prayed. I gave to the poor. I did this, I did that. But what did God say? He said, depart from me, I never knew you. Alright, here's the thing. Religious activity does not equate a relationship with God. You guys follow that? Religious activity does not mean you are having a relationship with God. Right? You are saved by grace through faith alone. Right? And your relationship with God is not merely just doing religious activities. It's wanting to learn of Him. It's wanting to grow in Him. Okay? That's why I say writing a journal for your devotions is such a great thing, because it shows you're not simply just reading, closing, and then you forget. No, you want to know more. You want to learn more. You want to memorize more about your God. Okay? Religious activity does not equate to a relationship with God. Someone find me Mark chapter 12, verse 33. We reference this verse, and this is another reference to it. Locke, speak up so we can all hear.
And to love him with all the heart, and with all the understanding, and with all the soul, and with all the strength, and to love his neighbor as himself is more than all whole burnt offerings and sacrifices.
Alright, we kind of reference, that verse is referring to what God has already said. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. Those are far greater than all, what, Locke?
All whole burnt sacrifices.
All sacrifices that could come forth. And God says that many times throughout the Old Testament. Hey, I'd rather you know me than have burnt offerings and sacrifices. I don't know if we'll get to it today. This might have to be a two-part lesson when we get to idols. But we're going to get to a part where Jeremiah is talking to the children, or preaching to the children of Israel. Okay? And he's preaching them because they're knuckleheads and they keep going into idol worship. Yet you know where he's preaching to them from in this one passage we're going to go to? He's preaching to them at the steps of the temple. They're going to church. And he's preaching to them about their idolatry, which he likens to spiritual adultery. But where are they going? To church. And they're thinking, I'm good because I'm still worshiping God, but the other days of the week I'm worshiping a different God. And hopefully that really pictures to you, yes, just going to church, religious activity does not mean you're relating with God correctly. And he's preaching to them from the steps of the temple. So they got the ark. And Hophni and Phinehas are part of the team that carries it. I don't know if you guys know. Do you guys know who Hophni and Phinehas is? Not Phineas and Ferb, Hophni and Phinehas. Alright. So, here's part of the problem. Why Israel's in this predicament to begin with is because of bad leadership. Okay? Now, at this point in 1 Samuel, who is the king of Israel?
Saul.
Micah?
No one.
No one. That doesn't come till later, Locke, alright? So they're not in a monarchy, they would be in a what?
Theocracy.
There you go, a theocracy. God is who leads them. Alright, so who's their main line of communication between the people and God? The prophets, who else?
The priest.
The priests, yes. Alright? And here's part of the problem. The priesthood had some bad eggs. Okay? So in 1 Samuel, we meet Eli. Okay? And he wasn't so bad. He knew when things were going wrong. His problem was he was very passive in his leadership. Alright? Because the main problems with the priesthood were his own sons, Hophni and Phinehas. Alright? They were doing such things. They were stealing. They were manipulating people. They were committing, and this is all in the first 3 chapters of this book. You can go back and read it yourself. They were committing immoral acts with with the women that would come into the temple as well. It got so bad, it got to the point that it even says that the people didn't even want to go and worship God at the tabernacle. They didn't want to go there because they knew Hophni and Phinehas were there. And not once, but twice, God had to send a messenger to Eli to tell him, because of your lack of leadership as a father, because of your lack of leadership as the high priest to take care of this problem with your sons, there's going to be judgment is coming. He came once by a messenger, and he came again when God was calling out to Samuel. He thought it was Eli the whole time. All right? So they had problems with their leadership. All right? And I don't think Hophni and Phinehas were leading the way, but they were the ones that were carrying what they thought was going to be their salvation, the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? We'll see it here. So, verse 4. So the people sent to Shiloh that they might bring from thence the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubims, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the Ark of the Covenant of God. Alright, so they're part of carrying it. So, where we go. So therein lies the problem of the Asabetics. So here's your question, your rhetorical question. Alright, who are you following? Or, you guys heard me reference this many times, who are you allowing to influence your life? Alright, social media is a very big thing, and there's a reason they call it followers and influencers. Okay? It may seem harmless, but those are people that influence your life. Alright? We see very evident, you can talk, me and Miss Christine aren't even parents yet. I don't know, you can talk to the Callahans, they probably think very much about it, but you see the influence, however dangerous you think it is or not, on many kids in this world. When it comes to how they dress, when it comes to how they act, when it comes to how they relate to people. Alright? Oh, it's just someone dancing. It's just someone doing this. Yet we see all around us how it's influencing people to follow, not be influenced by them, but also let go of what they know to be morally right and wrong. Alright? They start to loosen their morals because, well, this person has a funny TikTok, or this person has a funny this or that. Okay? Be careful of who you allow to influence you. We won't turn there for sake of time. But 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, evil communications corrupt good manners. Alright? Now, generally speaking, don't let this go to your head. Okay? But you guys are good kids. Alright? I'm actually very blessed when I get together with other youth pastors. Alright? And we're just shooting a breeze about ministry and stuff, and they're talking about, oh man, I got some kids. Oh man, I got some. And we're being open and honest, and I feel blessed that I am able to tell them, like, man, I got a great group of kids. Now that doesn't really have anything to do with me. A lot of you guys, your families are very solid, and that's where a lot of that comes from. Okay? But I could say in general that you guys are a good group of kids. But if you allow the wrong influences to filter in your life, whether it be through 15 seconds at a time videos, or a YouTube personality you like to follow, or whether it be a sports star or celebrity or whatever it is, and the thing is, it's so easy to hide that from your parents, okay? Because it's on your device, or something that you can turn off really quickly. Generally, you guys are good kids, but if you allow the wrong influences into your life, it will corrupt that, whatever that goodness I think it is. Evil communications corrupt good manners. This includes religious leaders. Hophni and Phinehas were part of what would be considered the religious leaders at that time. Alright? Be careful. Don't just take because I'm saying something from up here, Brother Patrick or Pastor Kern, as like, that's 100% what God's Word is saying. We make mistakes. Alright? Or you may be someplace in the future where somebody might say something from a pulpit and it sounds a little, Guys, follow that Alright? Search it out yourself in the Scripture. Study it for yourself. Don't just rely on the pastor to do all of your religious growth for you. Alright? That's how you become some of the weakest Christians there are. Okay? Well, that's not what my pastor says. That, first of all, that should never be what comes out of your mouth. That's not what the Bible says should be what comes out of your mouth. But if all you rely on, even if someone as good as Pastor Kern, who puts as much study as he does into sermons, or myself, or Brother Callahan, or Miss Christie, or Miss Christine, the first thing should not be, well, that's not what they say. It should be, what does the Bible say? Right? And that's going to help keep you from following what would be, in essence, false religious leaders, false prophets, so to speak, who just have this platform. And you guys heard me say this before. anyone can make anything sound really smart in 15 seconds. Okay? Anyone can make any position about the Bible, whether it seems off, sound really intelligent in 15 seconds. You think, well, how's that possible? Because it is in and out really quick, and as long as they leave an impact, it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay? Study it for yourself. Finding God's Word. Ask godly leaders you trust as well. So this includes religious leaders and Christian friends. Alright? Just because you guys go to Lighthouse Baptist Church doesn't mean you're following God like you should. Just because you go to Cornerstone Christian Academy or you follow the Abeka program, or you're not the only one that goes to a Christian school. He's like, Cornerstone. Castle Hills as well.
Castle Hills. Castle Hills.
Oh, is that rivals there? Or something?
No.
Alright. Just because you go to whatever school or you go to whatever church does not mean that everyone there. You can ask me and Brother Patrick when we went to Pensacola Christian College. Not everyone there was a Christian. And we have plenty of people we know. You can ask Miss Christine as well. That are now out of school there. And they're definitely not following the Lord. Alright? So be careful of who you allow to influence your life. My biggest word of advice I give to anyone that goes to college, whether that be a Christian college or anyone else, is surround yourself with good, godly people. Alright? Christian college as well. Not just a secular college, but even a Christian college. Surround yourself with good, godly people that you get good, godly influence. Alright, so this did turn out to be a two-part lesson. But we'll finish off here. The outcome. What is the outcome of putting your faith in something godly but not God? Let's look here. Let's finish it off. Verse 5. We'll go to verse 11. We'll see what happens. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth rang again. Alright? They were blaming God. Now they're getting excited at the ark of the covenant. Verse 6. And when the Philistines heard the noise, the shout, they said, what meaneth the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? And they understood that the ark of the Lord was come into the camp. Now notice how the Philistines feel about this. And the Philistines were afraid, for they said, God is coming to the camp. Now understand, the Philistines didn't believe in God. So their understanding of God was not what we would think it should be. Like, oh, they're the same as the Israelites right here. They think the Ark of the Covenant means that it's God. But here, look how they think about it though. They say God is in the camp because the Ark of the Covenant is there. And they said, woe unto us, for there hath not been such a thing heretofore. Woe unto us, who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty gods? Alright, so they don't have complete understanding. But look what they say. These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness. So they remembered, in essence, they were doing what the Israelites should have done to begin with. The Israelites should have known, even in the face of defeat, that their great God, who brought them all these victories in the past, is able to deliver them again. But they didn't. They turned to the Ark of the Covenant. But the enemy, they can remember what, now they refer to it as gods, remember their understanding is not complete, but they remember what the God of Israel did in the past, and it caused them to fear. Right? So instead of Israel remembering the past acts and blessings of God, the enemy remembers the past acts and blessings of God. Right? It's kind of ironic there. So it goes on. But they are scared, but they don't stop there. They say, be strong and quit yourself like men. All right, guys, man up. All right? O ye Philistines, that ye be not servants unto the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Quit yourselves like men and fight. And the Philistines fought. And Israel was smitten, and they fled every man unto his tent, and there was a very great slaughter, for there fell of Israel, at the beginning of the chapter, 4,000 men. Here, 30,000 footmen. Their failure, their defeat was great. And the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were slain. Alright, so the outcome was failure. I said at the intro of this, if you put your faith simply in religious things, it's futile. It doesn't mean anything. Just going to church doesn't mean you're saved. Just doing righteous acts doesn't mean that your life's all of a sudden going to get better. No, are you relating to God as you should?